There we go. Let's see. Okay, here we go. I forget how different going live on Facebook on your computer is compared to your phone. It's quite different. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well, especially with what's going on, but we'll get into that. I'll be honest with you, this was not planned. This is a very last minute thing. I just woke up this morning and felt like, let me go live. Let me share some thoughts. I don't know what this means. Something about frame rate. Okay, and they expect me to read all this while I'm live. I'm supposed to read all this and fix it while I'm live. I don't know what they're talking about. Well, we'll see. Hopefully everything will be okay. Like I said, this is a last minute thing. So, like I said, I wasn't planning on going live, but this morning I felt compelled to go live. Like I just wanted to come on and share and talk. So I don't have anything planned for you today, but I do feel like whatever I'm called to share is about what's been going on recently. And if I've been called to share about stuff about what's been going on recently, there might be a reason why. So, I'm not going to argue with it or try to figure it out. I'm just going to go with it, so if you make any comments, just give me a minute to see them, because like I said, this is different when you're on the computer. But yeah, so my heart is a bit heavy today, but not for the reason a lot of people's hearts are heavy today. Those of you that have been following me or that are on my Cosmic Corner group on my website or know me very well know that I've been going through a lot recently. It's been really tough to be on this path recently because, it's tough in general, but it's been tough, more intense recently because of the things that I have been called to do and remain strong in terms of my convictions and what I feel to be true. That has not been easy. This is why I always say this path is not for everyone. If you're not willing to really commit, then you should rethink what you're doing, because you will be called to commit if you're on this path. This isn't just for, you put a crystal on your forehead and think that you're done. No. It's been very demanding. Let's just say that. But that's for another time, because I'm not through it yet. So once I get through it, and I know that I will, I trust that I will be sharing those details with you. And hopefully, when or if you go through the same thing, I'll be able to help you and support you in that process. But for now, I guess I wanted to just talk about the recent events. It's interesting to me because, I don't feel extremely heartbroken about it, but I don't necessarily think it's because I'm not upset about it. I think that it's a result of the fact that it's happened so much. And I'm just like, what are we doing? At this point, it's like, if this keeps happening and nothing is changing, then I think we have to ask ourselves, how are we creating it or agreeing to it? Because, we shouldn't be allowing this to continue to go on. And I don't want to come at this from a critical standpoint. I don't want to be critical and judgmental, because honestly, I don't know enough to come from that standpoint. I don't know enough to act like, I know better and you should be like, there's a lot of things that I'm not knowledgeable about, and I really don't have a place to be critical of people. But I will ask questions, and I will call people to reflect and think. Because I'm going on Facebook and seeing, people say, we need change, we need change. And yes, that's true, but when are we going to start making it? And when are we really going to start thinking seriously about what changes we can make? And I know that there are people that are like, well, the people in power and this and that. It's like, okay, we kind of need to stop that too. Because they're not separate from us. If anything, they're reflections of us. The people in power are reflections of basically the baseline energy that we have in this country. And that baseline energy is a composite of all of our energies together. So we can't blame people in power without also looking at ourselves. Because we're helping to either keep that energy going, or helping to create it. Pretty much the same thing. So we have to start reflecting on how we're going to move forward with this, and what are the things that we can do to start implementing this change, because if we don't, this is going to keep happening. And I do think that it is a multifaceted issue. I don't think that it's something that's just, well, get rid of guns. I think that's a big part, though. I think we do need to start looking into gun control and, how we're going to make a shift in a major part of the equation. And I do understand that guns are not the only things that can be used as weapons, but it is going to be very hard for someone to come into a school and kill, 20-something people, mainly kids, with a knife. Someone at some point is going to get to this person if they, had that as their approach. And perhaps, let's say 1 or 2 people might have died, but not the amount that we've had with this event. So, while it is a point that anything can be used as a weapon, I don't feel that that's a solid enough argument to not look at guns and their influence and the impact that they're having. To me, that's not enough. If anything, to me, depending on the person and what their mindset is, might be an excuse. Well, anything can be used as a weapon. So what else can we do? It's like, yeah, but I'm in New York, right? I'm in Brooklyn. And the fact of the matter is, the amount of shootings and subway violence that we've had out here that is gun related, it's scary. And it's to the point where when me and my fiance are coming home at night, if we go somewhere, I'm always looking behind me. To make sure that no one's following us, that no one's coming into our apartment. Because of the gun violence. We need to look at the guns. We need to look at the impact of mental illness. And that's a whole another kettle of fish, mental illness. I really do feel that, a couple of things. I really do feel that we as a country, or actually we paint this picture of being so united and being a melting pot. Oh, we're all Americans. And I hate to say it, but I feel like we're some of the most divided people. We're so disconnected from each other, from ourselves. We're so disconnected. And that's a problem. Not just the fact that we're disconnected, but the fact that we try to paint a picture that we're not. We try to make it seem like we're not. That America's this great place where anybody can come and, you know, it's the land of opportunity. And I think at this point, it's being pretty much thrust into our face that that's not what this country is about. We have a lot of underlying issues. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, we like to be able to sweep things under the rug and just continue to paint this picture that we're this awesome place. But as truth will have it, it's not the picture you paint. It's what's behind all of that. What's behind the picture? What's really going on under the surface? And as much as we try to sweep things under the rug, at some point they're going to start to seep out. Especially if you invite people over. When I say invite people over, I'm talking about other nations and other countries. People start to see like, oh snap, what's going on over there? Yeah, our bullcrap is coming to the surface. All the stuff that we refuse to look at is coming to the surface. And we have a problem. Another thing we need to do is come out of this idea that guns make us American. Or it's like one of the, I guess you could say, symbols of America. Because I really feel like it's like, I feel like it's something that many Americans almost pride themselves on. The fact that people can have guns and the Second Amendment and all this crap. I've said this before too. Perhaps you don't remember. But I've said this before that America's going to be changing drastically. America's going to be changing drastically. And we need to be willing to release those things that we think make us American. Because at that point, at this point, what does that even mean? Because all the things that we've been attached to, that we feel make us what we are, it's being displayed how dysfunctional and toxic those things are. Or how all those things that we've been attached to, how it's really an illusion. It's what we've built around it as opposed to what it actually is. And it's like, if we're not willing to sacrifice those things, to sacrifice that part of our ego that's like, well, I'm an American, and this is what makes me an American, then we're going to have to be willing to suffer the consequences of that. And we are right now. I also want to say that I know that America and the Western world generally, it's not just America, but the Western world has this interesting idea of freedom and what it means to be free. But I have a somewhat different idea of freedom. Because for me, freedom doesn't mean that you could do whatever you want. To me, freedom, while it can include external circumstances, at the end of the day, when it comes to the physical world, you're never going to be completely free, especially if you have to live amongst other people. You're never going to be completely free. There's always going to be something that you can't do. You can't just go up to people and smack them upside the head. You know? Yes, exactly. Talking to my brother, Daniel, that's commenting. The quote-unquote proud gun owner. You know? I literally just say that the senator's answer to all of this is more... Yeah. Can't remember what I was saying. But, yeah. The Western world has this interesting idea of freedom and what it means to be free. And like I said, there's always going to be something that you can't do. If you're living with other people, there has to be some sort of structure in place to make sure that everyone is safe and everyone has a good well-being and is at peace or whatever. There's always going to be something in place, which means that you can always have a problem with something and say they're infringing on my rights or my freedom. Well, you can't do everything you want to do. I'm sorry. That's not what freedom is about. I think we're still learning to understand what freedom is. But because of what I do, offering my spiritual standpoint, a sense of freedom comes from within. It comes from within. So like, for me, when all this stuff, let's say things happen and let's say, people are trying to infringe on my rights. I don't have any fear of that. I really don't. And it's not because I don't care about my freedom. I just know that my freedom is not based on those things. That's just how I feel. I don't feel like my freedom is based on what these things that are like, well, I'm not, honestly, I don't want to get into certain things because I don't want to hear people's mouth. Oh God. I don't want to hear people's mouth about the things that we've been told to do during the pandemic, and because that's a whole other thing. What it means to be inconvenienced as opposed to being enslaved, because honestly some people are really dramatic when it comes to stuff like this. But I feel like we can always have a sense of internal freedom. For me, freedom is the ability to move beyond my own personal vices. I'm not controlled by my emotions. I'm not controlled by my impulses. I can be aware of what arises. I can be aware of what's going on in the world and not react, but actually respond. To me, that's like freedom. Like I said, I do believe that external circumstances play a part in freedom, but like I said, there's always going to be something going on in the physical world that we don't like. You know? And we have to draw a line between what are simple inconveniences and when we really need to start getting up and actually making a change. So I don't know. I feel like when it comes to this whole thing, I haven't really allowed myself to go there, to really sit with what happened. I know it's heartbreaking, but I haven't really allowed myself to fully go there. Probably because there's so much going on within me. But the only thing I feel like I can feel right now is, what the hell are we doing? And why are we continuing this pattern? What is it showing us? And how are we going to respond? Are we going to continue to act as if it's only about who's in power, and as if we have no power at all? Because that's not true. We actually do. They're reflections of us, as I said in the beginning. What's sad, too, is that when stuff like this happens, we talk about it for a little bit, and then we go back to posting memes. We cry a little bit, we get upset a little bit, and then we go back to our regular scheduled programming. Why do we do that? I think we are coming up to a time, though, where it's going to start happening so much, or the events are going to start to become so minimally spaced in between that we may have no other choice but to turn off the regularly scheduled programming and actually get up and do something. And I'm not talking about being aggressive. I'm not talking about being violent. I'm not talking about raiding the Capitol. I'm talking about facilitating change in a constructive and loving way. And loving doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a pushover or passive. The intention just has to be right. And it has to be pure. And you have to know, if you do have anger in you, you have to know how to channel it. Because then you could say and do things that you regret. So we have to, if we are going to be facilitating change, we have to be mindful of our intention and the purpose of what we're doing. Which I feel like for a lot of people, they don't actually do that. They become reactive and they become angry, and then they just kind of, they become a loose cannon. That's, But I do understand how in certain situations that can happen as a result of not being heard. But we have to at least begin from a place of being stable, being strong, being focused and dedicated, and having a clear intention, clear focus. What's the goal? What are we trying to achieve? So that's just how I feel about it. I don't know if there's anything else that I want to say, but I don't know. It just bothers me. It's like, we need to make a change. It's like, yeah, but we keep saying that, but then nothing happens. So what are we doing? At that point, we're just talking out of our butts. But then there will come a time where we can no longer do that, because we'll be forced to stop talking and actually get into action. I'm definitely going to need Mother Nature's healing today. I'm going to go for a walk soon. Probably not this second, but soon I'll be going for a walk so I can ground and clear my head. I don't know. Just making sure I don't want to share anything else before I come off. I don't think so. Not that I can tell. I think I've already shared my thoughts, all the thoughts that I wanted to share today. So, for those of you that watched, thank you for watching. I will have this live posted for people to look at and rewatch or watch if they missed the live. So, yeah, I'll see you guys soon. I will have hopefully another live event coming up next month. If you tuned into my YouTube channel and saw the Goddess stream, it's a free event that I did this month, and I would like to do it every month, but we'll see. I have to move freely without really being too attached to how it's going to happen. But that's what I'd like to happen. I like to do it again. All right, so stay tuned for any updates or anything that I'm sharing, and sending you all lots of love and gratitude, and take care. Bye-bye.